What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, people? Happy Independence Day week. This week is July 4th. I'm wearing my very patriotic shirt. This week excites me for a number of reasons. Actually, yeah, and I found out from a friend of mine that today is actually Canada Day, which I guess because I'm sort of self-centered, I didn't realize that like Canada Day was actually a day. Like, I don't know. Why would I not think Canada have a day? Of course, Canada would have an independence. Why wouldn't Canada have an Independence Day? I have no idea. But I didn't think they did. But today is Canada Day. And but this week is July 4th. It's Independence Day. So in honor of July 4th, in honor of Canada Day, I actually have a special guest that's going to join us today. Actually, I have a really cool guest on. I'm going to bring him up, and his name is Billy, and Billy does some pretty awesome stuff. They call him Billy the Door Guy, Billy Cline. I'll let you introduce yourself. And today only, maybe, I have a Canadian co-host here, Mr. Thaddeus Tondu, whom you all know from the HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. I'm going to pull you off over here. Oh, man.
Like to fuck with shit and just move everybody around. It's trippy.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'll tell you what, we can do that, and that's pretty cool. And then I get sort of sandwiched between two geniuses.
Good looking guys. Look at those full speakers. I see yours is I'm not that far behind you with the gray coming in there. Everett, can you even grow a beard?
Clowns to the left. I just shaved it. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Very, very cool. I'm glad that you're both on here. I'm really happy that you both had to make it. Billy's our host here. Billy's our guest here. Billy, tell people who you are.
Hey guys, I appreciate you having me on. My name is Billy Cline. I'm from here in Dallas, Texas. I'm married to Jennifer Cline. She's my beautiful wife. We've been married around 15 years or so now. We've raised 3 sons, 2 of which work in the business, and the youngest just graduated high school. We help people, we help homeowners find solutions to their entry and patio doors. We do entry and patio door replacements. We don't do any overhead. We we own the process from end to end. We do sales, we do the fabrication, we do the painting and finishing, and we do the installation all full circle in the house, in-house in our shop. And then we go out and install it. And we've been doing this. I've been in the door business for about 20 or so years now. And that's all we do. That's all I want to do. And I'm looking to blow the space up, you know, and to become the guy, the door guy.
Right. So, but since you do doors, so you got to be, I mean, how many calls do you actually run a day? How many houses do you see?
Well, so our sales process is a little bit different. We run 15 to 25, some days 30 sales calls a day. But with our sales process, one sales guy can run 15 to 20 calls a day because we only sell over the phone and through correspondence. It's a little bit different model. Some people may not believe me, but my best sales guy lives in Philadelphia. He's already sold 1.5 million this year. He'll probably wind up doing a little bit more than 3 million himself. And he has never, since he's worked for me for 4 years, not one time has he ever stepped foot on a job site.
Wow. Now, how long have you actually been doing this for? Like, when did you decide that you weren't going to go out to houses anymore, and then you were just going to do everything remotely?
It all started by accident, if I'm being honest. I used to do all the sales, you know, back in 2016, 2017, somewhere in there, maybe 2015. I was the only, there was like 3 or 4 in my company, right? If you wanted to call it a company at the time. We were called DFW Door Repair. I was very short-sighted, didn't know what I was doing, didn't have any business running a business, but I had a pretty good hustle, right? Like I had figured out how to do PPC. I had built a landing page, and PPC was pretty cheap back then. And people were calling to get new doors and stuff. So I was getting 7, 8, 9, 10 calls a day. But being the guy that looked at all the jobs and did all the quotes and did the majority of the work, it was impossible to go and look at every job. So I was finally got to my wit's end. I would just tell people, just text me a picture of your door and I'll text you back a price, right? Like I had zero sales acumen, no idea what I was doing. But I was selling and closing up. I was making $3,000 or $4,000 a week and working 3 or 4 days a week, you know. So that was big money for a 30-some-year-old punk. And you know, one thing led to another, and I had hired my first sales guy probably in 2019, and then I thought I hired a guy that used to sell doors and windows at Lowe's or Home Depot, right? And I thought because he did that, he was a good sales guy and would be a good fit. But those guys are just order takers. And he, you know, it was the same thing as I was. I was an order taker. I didn't know what we were doing. We were still selling over the phone. Text us a picture. We'll send you a price. And then I finally hired a guy who actually knew sales. He gave me a little bit of pushback, but COVID hit. He's like, this whole over the phone thing, it's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, bro, that's fine. Well, COVID hit. So that's all we had. Well, once we kind of started to dig in and get some sales training and get a little bit better at it, once COVID kind of started to go over, I'm like, all right, you ready to start going in the house? He's like, you're crazy. This is awesome. I'm never going in the house again. So it kind of just kind of grew and grew out of that. And now we're running, you know, depending on the lead source, anywhere between 40 and 60% close rate. So I don't know that we could do much better in the home. So
no, what's an average ticket like then? Like, because if it's like you think like
right now it's running about
doors, you're doing 4,300.
Yeah, but that's blended. Replacement runs about 7,000 and repair runs about 1,200. So blended is about 4,300.
Sure.
So I love this topic because, okay, so think about this, right? For years, and this is like coming from my brain of like where I came from, which is like, you know, maximize your opportunities. You got to get in the door because there's no way in the world anybody's going to have, you know, spend thousands of dollars without actually sitting down with them. And you don't get the chance to have like a personal interaction or whatever. And so like now, like when you say this, my brain goes, and I'll ask you, Billy, do you think that it's because like people's buying habits have just changed? They just want to get there faster. So you make it convenient for them. And then they're like, well, you know what? this makes sense. They do a lot of work, or what does that look like? What does that journey look like from the time that they make an inquiry to your company, and then you sell the job?
So in the home improvement space, right, you've got home service, right, and you got home improvement. Right? Home improvement would be more project-based type things, siding, windows, doors, roofing, things like that. Home service is things more like plumbing, electrical, HVAC, garage doors, and things like that, where there's an immediate need, where there's demand, where there's some urgency, right, and you need someone out right away. I've thought about this a lot, and I think it would be a whole lot harder to sell the way we sell for home service, right? Because there's a lot of moving parts on an air conditioner. There's 100 things, there are 100 reasons your toilet could be overflowing, right? And you need somebody there now. So it would be a whole lot harder, I think, to apply something with a very short sales window, the way we sell, but something with a long buying cycle, like windows, doors, roofing, things like that, where people can do a lot of research. I kind of straddle the fence, right? Because we do have a lot of people that call us with an urgent need. Their doors won't lock. The weather strips and seals are gone, so it leaks every time it rains. Things like that. You know, I can build some urgency and get someone out pretty quick on stuff like that. But generally speaking, about 80% of the calls are going to be a much longer buying cycle. So what we found was educating the customers as much as possible, getting them in the funnel, and then educate them through the funnel, right? By the time they get to the point where we get on a phone call, we've been very, very fortunate that 90% of our leads are inbound and they're demand. So that means that they've gone through some friction to get to us. They looked us up on Google or wherever, done some research, and either filled out a form, texted, chatted in, or they've given us a call. And generally speaking, that's the majority of our leads, other than referrals or if we make a lead in some way. So those leads are most of the time closer from the middle to the bottom of the funnel. And, you know, in all fairness, when I give close rates, we get a lot of calls from people who, number one, they couldn't find anybody else to leave and come out and give them a quote, or they had 3 guys come out. None of them even give them a quote. Only one of them will answer the phone when they call back, or they show up with a paper catalog, you know, and they've got to go get the price from somebody else and then mark it up, and then they don't know what they're doing. So when we can give them immediate, instant, same-day call with the information they're looking for about the products and services and what things look like, and then sell the product or the service on the same call, and then book the appointment to do the work on that same call, you know, everybody wins. I win because I didn't just drive an hour and a half to look at a job that I may or may not get from someone I don't even know where they're at in the funnel. You know, and I can do it 15 to 20 times now. And if I'm closing 40, 50%, you know, I'm closing half of those. If I drove to let's just say if we use the traditional business model when it comes to sales for my business, and I'm running 25, let's just use 28. If we have 28 leads a day on average, the traditional business model in a metroplex the size of Dallas, right? One guy's going to have a hard time running more than 3 calls, right?
That's it. So 3 calls. You're lucky if you're 3 calls between yeah, and especially in like Dallas, New York, LA, like places that have a ton of traffic. Yeah. The struggle's real.
So if I got 28 calls and the most anybody can run is 3 calls, I got to have at least 9 salesmen, right? That can run 3 calls a day. And that's with their kids, with their demo time in the house, you know.
We don't have to get into the weeds about it. I mean, you can geographically split up your sales reps, but I totally understand the concept. You're not getting a guy into more than 5 houses. That's a fact.
Yeah, taking lead to lead to a whole new level, man. Like that's just wild, because it's like a one call close in 20 minutes total time versus an hour plus the quote plus go and getting information. Like it's wild.
I don't think I don't think that. So the sales process from beginning, and I don't want to skip forward because Billy, I'm really interested in this, but the sales process begins not 20 minutes. I mean, from the time you give the quote, give them the pricing, schedule the job. I mean, how long is that on average?
20 minutes to 30 minutes. Okay. If a call goes over,
sorry, Thaddeus, it's Canadian.
He said it earlier.
You get Canadian Day. I didn't hear it. Yeah,
he said it earlier.
We use Service Titan and Rilla, and all the calls are recorded. So I can go look at the calendar and like if there was a call going right now, I could click on that customer's tab and see that the call's going. If the call's over 15 minutes long, that's usually a really good indication for us, because the customers are, inquisitive. They're asking lots of questions. My guy's asking lots of questions. Those calls are usually pretty good.
So is this like done via FaceTime or what?
It starts out on the phone. So I could talk all day about this. It starts out on the phone. So what happens is when you call in and you want to book a call, you get a CSR. She'll say, hey, how can we help? She'll pre-qualify you, make sure that the problem you have is something that we can fix, right? It's something we want to mess with. It's not a mobile home or a storm door or an overhead or something like that. Once she determines that we can help, she's going to do the intake. She's going to ask you some questions. She's going to get you put in Service Titan and schedule you for we call it a 15-minute consultation call with a door expert. All we ask is that you send us a few pictures of the door from the inside and out that you're having problems with. That's it. And then we'll send a little video link after they hang up so they can kind of watch the little video and see, why we need what we need, what we do. So once they get that call book, then within 30 minutes of the scheduled time, if they haven't sent pictures, we'll shoot them another text. Say, hey, don't forget to send us the pictures before the call. 95% of the time, everybody complies. Sometimes somebody says, I can't get home. Maybe we can reschedule. No problem. Once we get the pictures for doors and what we do, there's not a whole lot of variance in sizes. And I only need to be close for the estimate, right? If I can look at the picture and get close to the size, I can see the handing. I can see if it's crooked. I can see if it's rotted. I can see if the glass is falling out, all those things. So the door expert gets on the call. Hey, thanks for sending the pictures over, or looked them over. Tell me a little bit about what's going on. What's your motivation? They'll do some discovery, and it's not much different than selling software or services or anything else over Zoom, right?
I guess my only question on that is, so, look, I mean, some people are going to want a specialized door. Some people want steel. Some people want the wrought iron looking stuff or whatever. So do you have like a level where it's like, hey, you want something specialized and then you have to get out there anyway, or no?
No. So we figured out if the call's going the right way, I'll say, hey, you know what? Hey, Everett, I really like to show you something. Do you mind if I move this over to a video call, right? Are you comfortable with that? That way I can share my screen. I can build the door. I can show you some options. Yeah, no problem. At that point in time, I'll send you a link for a video call. We use the service called Live Switch. If it's a repair call, those usually close. They close at a much higher.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Yes, they close at a much higher percentage.
Yeah, I'm going to guess the next word was...
Oh, he's back.
Well,
no. Hey, you hold on. You're going to have to back up about 12 seconds because you completely froze, but go ahead.
Oh, well, if it's a repair call, we don't need to get on a video call. Those close at a pretty high rate. It's easy to tell from the picture what we need to fix that. But if it's a replacement, let's jump on a video call. I don't like to start out with a video call because there's so many platforms and people don't know how to log on their phones or on their computers, and it's a mess. So once I get them comfortable with me and feel like we can solve their problem, then I'll send them a link. They click the link, they can look at it on their phone or on their computer, and then I can share my screen, go about building out options for them, and then give them visuals that way. At that point in time, I've already built trust, and they already,
yeah, you already sound like you know what you're talking about. It's the same thing. Like, you get on the phone with Dad, and it's like, Thaddeus, dude, let's talk. And then you start talking about whatever flux capacitors and whatever you do in your marketing.
That's the biggest challenge, though, is just making that human connection, over the phone, right? It's a lot easier when you're standing there and you can see a picture of their kids on the wall and have those talks, right? Like those connections. As Uncle Joe calls them, the magic moments, right? It's more challenging over the phone, but it's not impossible. But people sell software, they sell their marketing services and all the things all the time over Zoom, right? So it's no different.
Well, some people would argue with you and they would say, well, I can't measure it. I can't go see it. There's so many things. Although I will tell you, the door, other than opening and closing, is relatively stationary and does not have any typically, other than the lock, Yeah, there's no moving, like legitimate moving parts. So it does add a level of less sophistication than an HVAC system, let's say, right?
Or even a garage door, like, even if you're having troubles with the measurements, like, "Hey, do you guys have a tape measure? Let's measure this really quickly." Like, you have, and once you've seen a
Well,
handful of
the
things, you're
difference
gonna
in
see the same shit,
difference in
dude.
the difference in HVAC and garage doors is no one calls wanting to replace those, right? Those calls are always repair calls.
81% of the calls are repair calls. Yeah. Sam
So,
Wakefield says Ever could totally sell generators over the video call like this. Yes, and a lot of them have been. A lot of them are in the project stage where, like, what I'm seeing now, and Billy, maybe you can chime in on this, especially in Dallas, right? It's like people doing massive renovations and being like, dude, I'm getting a generator. Or it's people who are in building a new house, and then yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I do agree with you, Sam.
the
Sam
longer
said
the buying
he
cycle,
has
the more
sold.
better it is.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. He sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of HVAC over video call without going to the home. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah. So Billy, sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, the longer the buying cycle of the product, the better it works, right? And if it's super urgent, like a heat and air system, yeah, those opportunities are best served by presenting in the field and getting that wrapped up and getting that going right away, right? Not giving them time to shop around. The thing with doors, we close about 25 to 30% on the first call, but the majority of our stuff comes day 2, day 4, day 6, up to day 10, and then
is that right? So it's not one call. A lot of these are not one call close. A lot of these are, you give the quote. Awesome, thank you so much. Now, what is your feedback on that? If Sam Wakefield's listening here, so I'd like him to hear this. What's your thought? What are your thought on that? Like, whereas you're not like, are you asking for the business right up front? Are you not asking for the business up front? What does that look like? And then also, do they appreciate that you're not asking them, or you're not closing them on the spot? How does that work?
It works a lot better if we're not the first ones, right? If they've already had an experience with like a Renewal by Anderson or someone like that, and we're not first, then, or Pella, right? Like, people really appreciate it. Those companies are a lot like buying a timeshare. You go to one of those free timeshare vacations, you're not leaving without a timeshare. They're going to lock the door until you sign up, right? That one call close. Let me call my boss. Oh, you know what? They decided to drop the price today and today only. We don't do any of that, right? If we're first, though, here's my philosophy. I don't mind being first. I don't close a lot if we're first, because we're the first ones to give sticker shock, right? So price conditioning is super important for us. But if we're not first, I want to set the bar so high and the customer experience is so good that everyone else gets held to my standard, and those people come back anyway, because the next guy shows up in his truck, throws a cigarette butt in their yard, gets a paper catalog, and asks them to pick one out of the catalog. And 90% of the crap in the catalog special order, and they can't get it anyway. So I want that customer experience to be nice and tight and clean, and no matter what happens, that's why a lot of them close several days after, because number one, they probably can't find anybody else to give them a quote for what we're doing, and number two, if they do, they have to chase the people around to get any information from them. We are very forthcoming with information and texts and all the things. Communication is super important to us, and it's really super important to your customers as well.
My brain is like going is like cranking, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, now you've gone this. So typically, if they've gotten other quotes, do you have a higher chance, obviously, of closing them? But what would you say your, like, let's call this, what would you say your closing percentage is? Because you just built really good rapport. You tell them, I'm Billy Door. I'm the door guy. I do more doors in DFW as an independent company than anybody. Right? I'm sure that's baked into your process. I do more doors than anybody else. Other than the big, huge guys. I'm an independent guy. Blah 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 blah. What would you say? Like, is the percentage that you close those, and that's enough for you? Like, that's enough for them. They're like, you know what? I trust you. I want to do this.
That's probably the ones that close on the first call, right? Like 20 to 30%, 25, 30%, right? they've done some research. They feel comfortable with us. A lot of times when I jump off a call, I don't do as much. So I do about 15 or 20% of the sales calls usually is overflow or something like that, or referrals if someone is referred, or if it's a really big job. As soon as I get off a call, I go out in the shop though, and I do a selfie video. I walk around in the shop, show them our manufacturing process, all of our state-of-the-art equipment, all my people, the little L's making the things, and I send it to them right away. And 100% of the time, I get a text back say, "Oh wow, it's way more involved than I thought. This really helps. Thanks a lot." The other interesting,
that's huge.
The other interesting thing is since we've been on the radio, we work with Roy Williams and Wizard of Ads. People just start showing up at our shop, right? Like that never happened before, and it's usually someone over 55. They close almost 100% of the time, but they come in, they see who we are, we give them a shop tour, take them through the showroom, and they're sold. But people really start to. It's very commoditized until it's not, right? Like everything is commoditized. That's why brand is so important. It's the only thing today that you can use to differentiate yourself between the rest of the commodities. Doors are a commodity. They're $649 at Home Depot. Why is yours $7,000, right? So you have to go through all that. And then you have to prove why you're worthy, prove why you're service. I don't sell doors. I provide customer service at an excellent level. We just happen to provide that through the doors, right? And that's our professional shtick. So we sell customer service, we sell customer experience, and we keep it all kind of bundled up nice and neat. We don't need subs for anything. There's no periphery. It's all in one. There's no one else that does that in my space. Everybody else is a 2-legger or a 3-legger that, they have to get these things from everywhere else. They have to hire another paint contractor, go out and paint it when it's done. We have it all wrapped up. So the people rarely buy because of that, though, right? They buy for their own selfish reasons. They don't care that we're the best. They don't care that we have the best process and the best service. They only care about, deep down inside, what suits their own emotional needs, and we try and appeal to that.
With them, what's in it? What's in it for me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to know, do you have a jingle with your radio ad? And if so, do you sing it? And if so, can you sing it?
I don't know. There's
I was really hoping for that.
Yeah, it's Roy does.
Their Wizard of Ads is phenomenal, by the way. They do phenomenal work.
Roy always reads the second part of the ad. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but there's really no.
Which radio stations are you on?
We were on iHearts, and there's like 8, 10 of them. I don't know. iHearts, and I can't remember the other one. I don't listen to the radio much.
Are you on any of the core actual AM FM radio stations in Dallas, or is it all like online radio?
KLTY, all the big Dallas stations.
Yeah. So all that aside, you used to be in the field.
Yep.
So I gotta ask, what's the craziest shit you ever seen?
There has been some.
You gotta start the story with, so I was in this house, but like I feel like when you tell the story, like it's more like I see like a gaping hole because you've already pulled the front door out, so there's no door to this house, and so I just see you standing there. It's like, so I was in this house anyway. That's my
So actually,
else when you said gaping hole, but
I'm not going to tell that story. So I was in this house one time, and back in the day, I used to do installations for Home Depot. That's how I kind of got into this whole thing for doors, was I was doing installations for Home Depot. And I was working with another fella, and I sent him to the Home Depot to pick the doors up, right? I hadn't been doing it for very long. And I went straight to the house, man. I started tearing out there was like 4 doors. I tore all these doors out. And 45 minutes to an hour later, this guy calls me from Home Depot. It's like, hey, bro, all these doors are wrong. They ordered the wrong size doors, and none of them are going to fit. And I'm like, oh, shit, I've got 4 doors tore out, and we don't have any doors to put back. So
they're plastic tarps. Sorry, guys.
Oh man, They were already at the dump?
It was a shit show. Well, when you take one out, we do it in such a way where it all gets torn up, and these doors were in really rough shape anyway. So we had to go buy some temporary doors to put in. But these people were very upset. Home Depot was always a shit show anyway. They're very transactional, Walmart type deal. And the people are always pissed off when you got there because of all the things they had to go through before the installer ever showed up. So that was a pretty crazy fiasco, and we were there very, very late that day.
Yeah, I'll bet. Guys, we're about we're about that time right here, guys, and I just want to say something. I have a pretty amazing sponsor. It's Cooper and Hunter. Cooper and Hunter is, they've just been awesome. So they sell VRV, VRF systems, ductless mini splits. They've done an incredible job. Actually, they got really lucky because they're sponsored. They've been sponsoring the Florida Panthers, and the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup 2 years in a row. So imagine, and I made a post about this. Like, imagine
against the Oilers, and the Oilers are my favorite team. By the way.
And you're from Edmonton,
Painful.
but yeah. So I was like, that's so cool. And they're also the sponsor for the New York Yankees, which is just like epic nonstop winning. And so then I'm like, whoa, how appropriate is it that they also sponsor the coolest, fastest growing podcast in all of the home services world, I guess you would say. So they put together this little short little video here. And
Cooper and Hunter's new peak unit runs efficiently up to 19 SEER 2. With BTU capacity that ranges between 18 to 55,000 for indoor and outdoor units. Compared to a traditional gas furnace, Peak's revolutionary design is ready to step in without a hassle, thanks to its adaptive multi-voltage. True high-performance hyper units provide a 100% heating output at -13 degrees. Looking inside the unit, the new M-Coil is highly efficient and provides a better airflow that reflects in a higher static pressure. Our Smart Kit is included, giving you access to control your device from the comfort of your phone. Peak stands for Powerful, Efficient, Auto Voltage Detection, and Quiet. To learn more, visit our website or talk to your local distributor. Cooper and Hunter, addicted to comfort.
Cool. So yeah, big shout out, big thank you to Cooper and Hunter. Billy, I ask a question on every episode, and I ask it and you've heard this question before. I've asked this, the same way. And it's the reason why I started doing these interviews. And I wanted to ask you this, and it could be an employee and it could be an experience. I like it to be work sort of centered, but what is one interaction, hopefully a customer interaction that you've had that was so profound that it lives with you? That wherever you go, you carry it with you, kind of like a backpack.
I've got two that come to mind. If we have time, I'll tell them both. The first one
we got lots of time, man. We're good.
I'll tell you the first one. This one was kind of a heartwarming, touching story. We went on this call. There was we had a lady call and was looking for some weather stripping for. She was a caretaker for a fellow. And she didn't really describe the whole situation. She said, "Hey, I just take care of this guy. He needs some weather stripping. Can you send somebody else?" So I sent one of my guys out. He sent me pictures of what was going on. The doors, they needed way more than weather stripping. They actually needed all new doors. And so they sent the pictures back, and the lady, I got on a call with the lady and said, "Hey, you actually need new doors." Well, she started to explain he's on a fixed income. He's a Vietnam veteran. He suffers from the Agent Orange exposure or whatever, a lot of those guys did. And this was about 6 years ago, I guess. And, he really doesn't have the budget for that. I said, "Okay, no problem." I said, "Let me visit with my team and I'll get back with you." So I visited with my team. I said, "I think we just want to replace all these doors." It was like 3 doors. I said, "I know that we've got 3 out there that will fit this, that were ordered for another job. We were just going to resell them." I said, "I want to take all this and I just want to donate it to this guy." So we put the doors together. We showed up at their house. He wasn't going anywhere. He was homebound, and knocked on the door. Said, "Hey, we're here to replace your doors." And the the gratitude and the emotions that were poured out because we wanted to help this guy from the people that were there was just amazing. And it's something that I'll never forget, that the biggest and best thing that we can do is to serve others, even if it's not convenient. I know that it made an impact on them and the situation, but nothing nearly the impact that it made on me to be able to help them and to feel the gratitude. We all want to feel important and feel special. And that day, that really made me feel like we were doing a good thing, and we were able to help. I have another similar story. We had another guy who reached out. He needed a new back door. His door was leaking, and he had approved the estimate, and he called me a couple of days later. He said, "I just took my daughter. We just got back from Children's Hospital, and she was just diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer, and she's going to have surgery. We're going to have to put the door project on hold." So I'm like, "No way, bro." Immediately, we pushed through. We did the job for him. Never sent him a bill or anything. And to this day, that guy is still on my social media, tagging us and everything. Recommending us for stuff. But it just felt good to be able to help that family through that as well. And then one more story. This one here is kind of bad. I went to this guy's house one time to do an estimate, and we see people all the time. There's weeds and stuff growing up in front of their house. No big deal. This place looked like a jungle. Well, I walked up to the front door, and I knocked on the door, and this little frail old fellow walked up. And as soon as he opened the door, the smell hit me. I immediately, was just doing my best to control my gag reflex. But this is one of those houses that you see on the show on the History Channel or whatever channel that has the show Hoarders, right? Like, it was literally the nastiest, grossest, stinkiest, filthiest place I've ever seen in my life. And we couldn't even get to the door that he needed help with, so we really couldn't help that guy. But I tell that story occasionally, and it still makes me want to gag every time I think about it. That smell is just burned into my brain. So that one's pretty crazy.
Have you ever taken that, like those first two parts? I'm glad you shared the second one. I was going to ask a question along those lines anyways. With those first two stories that you do, have you ever taken an opportunity to say, hey, let's maybe do this quarterly, maybe biannually, where, you nominate a family, we choose it, and we do the goodwill behind it. Now, obviously, there's the other part is you can document that for social media and create a story in and around it to be able to further enhance the brand.
For sure. I watch the board and I listen to calls, and the people in my office know to watch for those types of calls. I don't like to put it on social media. I'm just one of these cats that I don't want, recognition for it. I don't want people to think that I do stuff like that to get anything in return. My spiritual beliefs and things like that, I know that if I do those things that I will get that back, and I don't feel like I need the community at large to do that. I also don't like to put out that we do these things online, because you never know. People try and game the system and cheat things and stuff. So we do get, at least once or twice a quarter, we'll find, opportunities to serve someone that's needing something or can't, afford to pay. We had this poor little lady. She was 80-some years old, and at retail, she needed a new door frame. Her door was okay, but she needed a new door frame. It was like $1,400 at retail, right, for this what we were going to do for her. And she's like, "Well, I'll have to save up for a while to do it." So I went out there. I sent my guys out. We men charged her. It was like $260, right? So we went out and did it for her for $260. Basically, just covered the guy's labor and the parts. And even after that, this sweet little lady, she, something wasn't quite right for that. She thought, and this lady wore us out for 4 weeks over this. You go out and you do something. They say no good deed goes unpunished, but I would still do it every day. I just, I think about my grandmother or my mother when I bump into things like that, and how would I want the world at large to treat them, and I try and do the same thing. But I don't necessarily want it promoted for any other reason. other than to my team, right? I want my team to know what we're doing, but outside of that, I don't care if anybody ever finds out.
It's a good philosophy too. Like some people do it and they pump it out there, and you're right. You can get the spammers in there and be like, "Oh, you're just doing that for publicity," and it actually can hurt you in the long run in some cases.
Yeah.
Well, then it's also you know, you become like braggadocious. And actually, Billy, I I heard I guess it was like a sermon lesson on that, where it was right, like, don't blow if you're going to do something good, don't blow a loud horn, because you had said your faith, you know, guides you in that direction. It's very, very interesting. I would be interested to see. I almost feel like you'd get more back if you kept it sort of quiet, and then like that person just kind of like talked to somebody else who talked to somebody else. And that led me to think, what is your referral rate? Like, do you get a lot of, are referrals a big part of your business?
Yeah, we do get quite a bit of referrals. They're not, I'm actually working on a program to cultivate them, you know, more than we have been, versus just getting them passively. But we do get probably single digit percentage, you know, 5, 6, 7% of our leads are referrals, but generally the referrals are much higher ticket and close, you know, at a much higher close rate, you know. So we also have trade referral programs too that we use. We have some adjacents like window companies that don't like to do doors. We have marketing material with a phone number, a tracking number that only they have. So we print cards and give them to them, and then we pay anywhere from 6 to 9% of whatever is sold on the ticket that they referred to us. When we close out the revenue for the month, we mail them a check for that percentage, because it's roughly what it would cost us for a marketed customer anyway.
That's pretty good.
Do you have a partnership?
Say again?
It's a good JV partnership.
For sure.
Are you networked in with like realtors and stuff like that?
Yeah. So we've worked on some other stuff too. We have a program where we work with some realtors. Of course, we have some good financing, you know, partners that we use. So I put together this curb appeal program. I've got a couple really good friends that are realtors, and if they've got a house that really needs a new door before it can get top dollar on the market, we tell them we'll go out and we'll replace the door. You don't have to pay anything until you close, but we underwrite it with financing, right? And it's 18 months, no payments, you know, so they can literally pay for it when before or after they close, right? So, you know, we do some stuff like that with realtors, and I've got 3 or 4 that refer us. The realtor stuff is another really good reason why we like to do it over the phone, because those guys will waste a lot of your time running all over the place looking at jobs for them. You'll get 1 out of 8, you know. So they're always fishing for prices for comps, you know, to ask on how much to ask off contracts, things like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more it makes a whole lot of sense, right? You're right. This is not something that's emergent, where it's not emergent. And so it's like, man, why not? Like, you're obviously showing that you've got a process that's successful. Do you think that there is a secret sauce in your script?
Probably not. We're always, you know, I listen to a lot of calls, and we're always, you know, I didn't come from a sales background. I just kind of learned it on the fly and from reading some books, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of YouTube, you know, things like that. And I actually do really good, but it's much easier to connect with someone when they can genuinely feel and tell that you love what you do, and you know that you're the best at it. People can smell confidence on you. They can smell fear and anxiety on you as well. They can smell when you're just babbling bullshit.
They can smell commission breath. They can smell like that you are disingenuous. They can smell that you are trying to follow a sales process. And if they can, then you're doing it wrong. I think it's important to have a sales process. I just think it's really important to make sure that the first and foremost is that it doesn't come off disingenuous. So I think that's where a lot of people tend to fail, is when things come off as disingenuous. Even in my career, I have found where if I am, you know, in a rut, you get there. If you're in a rut and then you start to, you know, you can smell it, and it's not good.
it's probably unfair for me because I'm the owner and I don't necessarily work for a commission, right? So I'm not trying to.
Oh, you do.
I
do.
Yeah.
It's not like the rest
You're
of the guys.
100% commission.
Yeah. So, but I always start out calls when I get on a call, say, hey, my name's Billy. I'm the owner here. I don't get to do this much anymore. And I really love this part of my job, helping people get the things they need. I know that it's never fun to buy something like this. I don't like selling it, but my job today is to guide you through this process. I'm going to present you with several options, and I'm going to help be your guide today and help you choose the things that you already know that you need. I don't want to sell it to you. I want to help you buy it. And a lot of times that'll lower the guard. The sales resistance is the same, no matter if we're standing face to face or if we're, just like this. What's the first thing that happens when you walk into Macy's? Someone's going to meet you at the door, and they're going to say, hey, can I help you? What are you going to say?
No, I'm just looking.
Every time. And then 3 minutes later, you're looking for somebody to help you, right? We all have this wall of sales resistance.
I just start out and have them follow me. I'm like, I'm going to need your help pretty soon. Just follow me. I don't know where everything is. Yeah, I'm looking for this although I will tell you, and your process would probably do really well on me because first of all, I love what you said. You said, I'm going to guide you through. I'm going to do this. I'm going to help you out here. You have authority, command, you build rapport really quickly, and you know what you're talking about. And then you're just like straight and matter of fact. And my sort of like alpha high influencer mentality is like, man, let's just get there fast. Yeah. Woo! I got everything. You're detailed and fast. Oh, dude, you win. You win. If you're detailed and fast.
Let me get you his number, Everett, and you can call into his CSR and you can get some new doors.
John Gonzalez says, just be a good dude or girl. You know what? That reminds me. Does anybody know who Bobby Hamilton is? Anyway, Bobby Hamilton was a trainer at Nexstar, and him and I were having I don't know, I forget what conference it was at, but he was like, he lives by one phrase, and it's from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And he was like, party on, just be excellent to each other and party on. That was it. That's his whole mantra in life. Just be excellent and party on. Anyway, there you go.
Right? Be a good human.
Earlier about being an alpha and running over things. That used to be me, right? Like I'm one of these people that hates walking behind slow people. I hate driving behind slow people. In true Dallas form, by the way, this is the city where you literally cannot drive. The right lane where you're supposed to go slow does not mean go slow in Dallas. It means get the fuck out of my way. I'm going to run you over with my lifted kit truck because it's my dually.
Hey, shit, I was with Everett when we were, where was that? Orlando. And I thought I was going to die when he was driving. He had Jersey mixed with DFW craziness, man. I'm like, fuck, can I get a 5-point harness here, man?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it took me a long time to learn how to listen, right? And I would cut people off all the time on sales calls, because I felt like I didn't have time to listen to them tell me what I knew what they were already going to say. And that happens a lot with neurodivergent people with ADD, and people who think faster than others. And it took me a long time to break out of that and to just sit and listen and to ask questions, and I learned that was way more important. What they had to say was way more important than what I had to tell them in that whole process. And so I was just saying that in reference to your alpha, get out of my way type stuff. I am that guy. I have this problem with my wife. I finish her sentences all the time and it drives her up the wall, and I don't even know if I do it, until she gets on to me about it.
Let me ask you this. We were talking a little bit about this, and I remember seeing you in a thread, and you were kind of hot, you were kind of heated in the thread or whatever it was. But what's one thing right now that's going on that's getting under your skin a little bit in the industry, in home services general?
I mentioned earlier the AI stuff. I know that the AI stuff is here and it's important and all the things, but I think a lot of times we get too far out in front of our skis on stuff. And, I'm the first person to say that I've embraced and leveraged technology in a way that most contractors haven't, through our process, the way we do stuff, through efficiencies with the Service Titan, all these things, right? But I'm also know that the buying public, the people with the money for these bigger ticket items that we sell, are generally still people that are over 40, right? Not all of them, but most of them, and they're real people. And people over 40, they didn't have technology when they were in kindergarten. They didn't have an iPhone in grade school, right? They didn't get, maybe in college. I got my first bag cellular phone when I got out of high school, but I think it was 2007 or 8 when I got a smartphone. So a lot of these people are still old enough that they want to be treated like human beings. The younger people coming up, the 30 somethings and even the 20 somethings, yeah, some of them have money, but a lot of them aren't, deep into home ownership and home repair and things like that yet. And generally speaking, I'm casting a wide net and speaking anecdotally here, but they are more prone to, they would rather talk to technology, talk to an AI chatbot than a human. I've got my 24-year-old kid son. He plays video games and stuff. He doesn't want to interact with people. He wants to chat. He wants to text and doesn't, so there's a time for it, but I think it's too soon. And I think that it's great for augmentation. I think it's great for fill-in. I think it's great for a knowledge center, for, if you're going AI and stuff like this. But I haven't seen anything yet that convinced me to take the human element out of anything really from end to end. I think it just needs to be an augmentation and something that makes you more efficient and helps, and not a replacement. Yeah,
I love that topic. I think I think there's going to be, I'm in the forefront. Like I own a marketing company. You talk about AI stuff that comes and it's just like, well, shit, we're the ones that are getting hit with it first because we've got to adapt and pivot. Google is the lifeblood for my business. Like if Google were to be gone, my marketing company would be done, right? I do SEO and PPC. But when you think about this, like meeting the people where they're at is a key thing, and building in some of that to be able to say, okay, well, if you do have a 20-year-old or 30-year-old that has the money and they want to do a chatbot, you still need to have some of those basic principles on there. Do you feel at some point there's going to be a tipping point where there's going to be AI pushback?
Pushback from your
just AI, is it the society as a whole? I know we're casting a broad net here, but like you talked a little bit about, the over 40 crowd. Like I'm 40 and I got my first cell phone when I was like 17. Right? I actually found it like 7 years ago and I opened it up and there was no text messages on it. It was wild. Couldn't even find a way to text message. But I think there might be a tipping point to push back to all of this AI shit that we see.
I think a good way to draw a line is, it's both. I think there's room for both, right? But I think you separate it into buckets, right? One is transactional and one is relational, right? If you have a business that is driven by relationships and connections and humans, I think that you need to focus on things that generate goodwill through relationships, your brand and things like that, and it's probably going to be human interaction. If you're selling a widget on Amazon, I think, AI is the way to go, right? Something transactional, very low margin type item, not a lot of variance or variables there. I think that it's going to dominate things like that. But when you're trying to decide if you want to spend 15 grand on home improvement, you're probably going to want to talk to a human,
I've thought a lot about this topic, having been in sales. I think that what happens here is that there's a lot of companies, and I've even seen it now, where small companies are pivoting to call centers now that are completely AI. You don't even know you're talking to an AI. And I'm talking about home service companies, and they're doing their like after hours where that's who picks up the phone. And now they've shifted to, well, actually that's who picks up the phone during hours. And then but if they get snagged, then they can transfer it over to a real person. And they don't even know, the person doesn't even know that they're talking to like an actual chat bot, which is nuts, right? Well, here's the crazy thing. There's already a resistance to AI. There's already a huge resistance to people not wanting to move forward. So I heard from somebody this week that they are, and we sometimes can really just complicate things so much, that they were helping out a company in Florida that is a literal pen and paper company, paper invoices. And they're going to be upwards of somewhere near $100 million as a home service company. They don't have some snazzy CRM. And sometimes I guess I had to rethink my own self on those tools, right? Because we get so bogged down with it. But then I forgot that the company that I used to work for, who was bought by a huge, private equity / like home services company, that company got all the way up to $70 million, just had an internal little CRM they used to put stuff in, like a basic CRM, and everything else in the field was everything. All 150 trucks were pen and paper, and they would snap a picture of it and send it to the office. Everything was carbon copy. Think about, and that wasn't that long ago. That company got bought like 8 years ago. I mean, there were Service Titan was around, everything was around, all these tools were around, and they were doing $70 million in business. That company now literally switched over and is doing about $110 million. So it goes to show you, like, and it just depends on what kind of company you want to run. Like, what kind of company do you want? Do you want a company that it's nonstop AI, everything is automated, and it's just like, oh, I have this cash cow that I created because I have all these efficiencies, but I have no community, I have no employees, I don't walk into anybody and say, oh, I've got a cool culture that I've built here. Somebody that's doing a great job. This is Texas Medley, right? He has Medley Heating and Air here in DFW. You know him, right? He's building an amazing culture. He's building kind of a cool team and everything like that. And all of a sudden, the conversation has changed. And nobody's even talking about this anymore. Like, how do you build a really cool company? Well, yeah, you build it with systems and processes. But if you listen to any billionaire, listen to School Hard Knocks. These guys on School Hard Knocks, talking about that page that has like millions and millions of followers. All the bigwigs, all the billionaires, they will all say the same thing. How'd you get there? My team. I got there with my team.
It's the C word, culture, right?
Yep.
Culture. We could talk for a few more hours about all this, but culture is what's the first thing that gets snatched out of these companies that are getting bought by these blind private equity companies. When I say blind, I don't, like there's some that, like the Wrench Group, right? They're purchasing things for a different reason than a lot of these other companies. They're trying to flip them upstream way faster or whatever, but they rip the culture out. The culture is your brand, whether you like it or not. Your brand is what people say and think about you when you're not there. And that is a direct reflection of your culture. And when these companies get bought out and they pull the entrepreneur or the founding leader out of the culture, then the culture melts. It falls apart because there's no one there to hold it together anymore. You start to see it. It shows up in the reviews, right? The first place of your culture falling apart will show up in the reviews. You start getting bad reviews. And when companies are ran by a spreadsheet instead of by the culture, that's, you got to have a mix of both. Both are important. But if it's only the spreadsheet, it's not going to make it. It'll show up in the reviews. And then it starts to show up, oh, we got to cut marketing budget now because the brand is shit, right? And we're not getting as many calls. And that's where it goes. Then it's just start pins and pennies.
I think but like, don't you guys think that you can have both, right? Like you can run, like you can
100% have both.
You can run both. You can have both.
People, product, price in that order. And people has two shoots to it, by the way. It's like people has you, like your team, and your customers under, but your team actually comes before your customers. And then you focus on the product, and then you focus on the price. So if you go backwards, if you focus on the price, yeah, you could have a good product, but your team isn't going to be bought into what you're trying to do. But if your team is bought into everything on the people part, guess what? Your product is irrelevant. I mean, Billy sells doors. People sell air conditioners. Like, there's not really a differentiating factor between an air conditioner or a door. I mean, he said it himself, $649 at Home Depot, $7,000 for him. You know why he can do that? Because of his people, because now he can charge more he can impact his price because of that.
Well, he's also in a unique,
a lot of people miss it.
he's also in a unique position, right? Because I mean, Pella's going to come in and they're going to be at 10,000, right? And then they're going to have the fix it yourself for kind of like low end crowd who's going to be like, who wants to do that? And here you are, this cool, and so you've built that brand, and whatever happens in the future obviously happens in the future. But here's a cautionary tale for you. One of the oldest, and I won't say which company it is because I don't want to get in trouble, because it's a big company. There's a big company. They came in, they bought another company. They bought the oldest company in that market, the oldest. The company that they bought is 100 years old. Just think about how incredible that is to buy 100-year-old company, right? Well, started by a great grandfather, whatever it is. Well, they came in, and let me tell you something there. I met with the new manager there. Dude's been in the industry for a year and a half, has no idea what he's doing. All their old clientele base, everything they built up is basically washed out. They changed their entire processes, all their systems, because they thought, because they have, however many branches, this unification is going to work everywhere. If we do these unified processes, it'll work everywhere. But now that may be the case on the back end, but I don't know necessarily customer facing. Different cities have different personalities. Different places have different sort of things that they gravitate towards. There is a flavor that becomes a sort of a natural native, which is, I think, smarter companies, smarter roll-up strategies have started to adapting to that. So anyway, cautionary tale here is they basically ruined a 100-year-old company.
Well, companies like they leave the entrepreneur, the culture in place, right? They let that stay there, and they leave those leaders there. They're not ripping them out and reinstalling a new neuro system. It's, run as usual. We're going to help install these things that are going to make you even better. That's not generally, a lot of these private equity and other roll-ups, they're not doing it like that. They're ripping it out. They're trying to get the balance sheet and the P&L in a spot, and they're not trying to continue to grow these companies forever like some of these other groups. And that's really the differentiator.
John Gonzalez says, what about the campaigns curated by platforms like Church, Hatchrilla? I think actually those are great tools. And what do they do? Those automated tools are cool. Automated text messages, point of contact. It gets somebody, it gets somebody moving in the right direction. So I have no issues with at all with any sort of that automation.
Honestly, those are great tools. Not doing it, they should be
100%. We close more than 10% of our sales every month from rehash through things like Chirp and Rilla.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, dude, Billy, before we go, man, any last thoughts? Any last sort of things? Also, plug your business. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah. So what the way we do stuff is not necessarily the way you should do stuff, right? And the way you do stuff isn't necessarily the way that anybody else should do stuff. But if you can learn, right, like the way my business as a whole is an amalgamation of things that I've learned from 100 different places, from the books that I've read, from the people that I've met, from the shops that I've toured, from my mentors. You have to build your own Frankenstein and continue to iterate and make the most efficient machine that works for your business and for your customers and for your culture. And, I didn't realize what I was setting out to do. I was just trying to sell stuff to not die, and early on in my business, it was just about getting money. I didn't realize that I was not a leader, and I didn't realize that I needed to be one in order to scale. But much later, I did learn that and all the things that go along with it. And of course, it's a never-ending journey. But just because I'm having success doing something doesn't mean you should scrap the way you're doing what you're doing. If you're out there in a hee-haw land listening tonight. But you should always try and make what you do, make it better, make it work better for you, make it work better for your customers, and make it work better for your people. And if you can do those three things, then no matter what process you use will work. There's no magic bullet. No one's coming to save you. And just try and be a good human and don't sell things just to be selling things. If you want to look me up, I'm on Facebook. I'm easy to find on Facebook. I post a lot on TikTok, but it's usually just random door related type stuff. But I'm pretty social on Facebook. Billy the Door Guy Cline. I'm actually speaking at an event in Dallas on July the 25th and 26th. It's with Billy Cox, and it's the movement event. Les Brown's going to be speaking there. Tom Ziegler. There's a lot of big heavy hitters. Hit me up. I can get you a discount on tickets. Shoot me a private message on Facebook, and I'll send you a ticket code for that. Les Brown was someone that I really latched onto when I really started my business journey. I didn't know who to listen to. There's a lot of people out there, but really was instrumental in me kind of getting on this path. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me today. I hope I provided value to your audience, and I look forward to speaking with anybody that has any questions.
Very, very cool. Appreciate that. I've decided I'm going to open up a virtual sales door company here in Dallas. It's going to be
we're putting in a generator division too, by the way.
What's that?
I said we're putting in a generator division too, by the way.
Yeah, you guys are doing it. You're going to be an authorized generator dealer.
I like it.
Very cool. Very awesome.
Question: do generators run in cold temperatures? Can I put one in Canada outside my igloo?
Yeah, there's actually a calculation for the thing that will really in outside your igloo. Yes, that's very funny. But altitude actually affects the effectivity of the generator. You actually have to upsize the generator in higher altitude. So
makes sense.
Oxygen, yeah, they're air cooled. And one thing they said before I let you go, you had said something. You rolled up to the house, and there was all the lawn was all disheveled and blah blah blah. Speaking of TikTok and speaking of stuff that like doing good in the world, for anybody that wants to watch something just so cool, there's a TikTok channel called SB Mowers. SB Mowers. This guy goes around wherever he lives in, like, I don't know, Michigan or whatever it is. And he literally just finds lawns that are like disheveled. And usually it's like an old lady who can't afford to have somebody go out there. And he walks up, and some of these are like, I'm telling you, like they're jungles. And he time lapses the entire process.
I've watched one of those, man. It was wild. It was wild.
Dude.
Like he was
I watched one the other day where the cops ran the guy off. They told him that he couldn't be doing it because someone had already filed a lien against the people or whatever, and he was.
And he kept doing it, but he went back, and the cops came. Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah. So talking about, like, and by the way, that guy has made so much money now from literally just giving people lawn mows. Let that settle in. Very, very cool. Same way Phil says, cool channel. Thaddeus, I appreciate you being my co-host on today's show. I thought this was very appropriate. Very, very cool. Awesome time, guys. I have Gene Slade coming up. He still has not solidified a date. And then I also have coming up next week, drum roll, please. Who is it, Thaddeus? Did I tell you? Seth Year. Very cool.
Yes,
Joker Sarah's booking on. I got a couple other people. I got some other people have reached out to me. It's gonna be pretty cool. So really appreciate you guys. Thaddeus, anything? What's that?
I'm amongst real life celebrities. You got a little peon like me here.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're a celebrity too in your own right, my friend.
Thaddeus, what do you got? Anything?
It's good to be back in the saddle of co-hosting something. It was a lot of fun. It's a different format than I think a lot of things that are out there, and I enjoyed it, man. So thanks for throwing me the nod to say, hey, you want to come co-host an episode or two and see what happens? Yeah,
you're sort of.
He repopped my cherry. Is that possible? Can you repop a person's cherry?
Didn't you guys say you were going to make fun of somebody before the show? I feel like there was.
Oh yeah, Jonathan Bannister.
Yeah,
yeah. I actually really like Jonathan Bannister, but I did send him a message that we would, can we make fun of him just a little bit? I don't know. I saw one of his photos that he had. He was with his wife. I think he was in Vegas, and like his bicep was like bigger than his head. But it was only one of his biceps is the other one. So I think what he did is when he had the photo, he actually flexed. And I know this about it. Like he actually flexes in photos to make his arms look bigger. But it looked like AI messed up on him. And it was just this massive right forearm bicep. And his left one was a little tiny.
Now everybody's going to, if they don't know Jonathan Bannister, they're going to go Google him. They're going to go Facebook him.
He's a good dude. I like JB.
Go bother him. Awesome. Very, very cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you guys. And we will see you next week.
Good times. Thanks a lot, guys.
Ciao.